fine students. I hope that you remember where we left the chapter that we were reading up. We were not afraid to die if we all can be together. We left on the scene where they were doing the ride in the sea, and there the wave started coming that side, and then what happened, they had to slow down their ship and they were ready with their oil skins. They donned their oil skins and they were waiting for the uh, problematic situation in which they are going to stuck. They were that was their judgment that this is going to happen now. So for that they were mentally prepared. So now let's read out further. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. With an ominous silence, the wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing roar, and an enormous cloud towered aft of the ship. With horror, I realized that it was not a cloud, but a wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. So now here, what is the scene? You can well imagine that how daring it would have been for them, because as in somewhere the author thought that there is a cloud, but later he realized that it is a huge wave, and that huge wave was with a daring crest even. And what do you understand by crest? Crest is the topmost part of the wave. So now let's see that what kind of disaster it is going to get into the ship, as in it is very huge. The roar increased to a thunder as the stern moved up the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. But then a tremendous explosion shook the deck. A torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. My head smashed into the wheel and I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. I accepted my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt quite peaceful. So now here you can well imagine that what happened here, that the deck where the people used to sit in the boat, that even was damaged due to that wave, that huge wave. So now here the author, by chance he he slipped into the water. So now what he is expecting that he is not going to live more now, and he even has accepted his death. And now what is there, whenever someone is going to die, so he feels at peace. So that even happened with the author, even with the narrator even. So now let's see what happens next. Unexpectedly my head popped out of the water. A few meters away, Wave Walker was near capsizing, her masts almost horizontal. Then a wave hurled her upright. My lifeline jerked out. I grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into Wave Walker's main boom. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. My left ribs cracked, my mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Somehow I found the wheel, lined up the stern for the next wave and hung on. So now, as he was dipped into water, so now he had tried to find out the Wave Walker again a few meters away from him, although he had accepted his death. But when he saw the Wave Walker, his desire to get from that storm, and his wishes, his wish to get his family out of that trap got again aroused, and he tried to move into the ship again, and then he holded it, and finally he reached it with a holding of wheel. So now again his struggle would be started, but somehow his some body parts were injured. Water, water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dared not abandon the wheel to investigate. Suddenly, the front hatch was thrown open and Mary appeared. "We are sinking," she screamed. "The decks are smashed. We are full of water." So now here, if you have seen a ship, so there is a hole from where a person can go up and down. So from there his wife Mary appeared, and she said that we are sinking because there is lot of water inside in the lower portion. The narrator was on the upside area of the ship. So then his wife gives him this message. "Take the wheel," I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. Larry and Herb were pumping like madmen. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole starboard side bulged inwards. Cloths, crockery, charts, tins and toys sloshed about in deep water. So now the scene, what did he do? He gave the steering to his wife and then jumped towards the lower portion of that ship, and then what did he see there? He saw his children sinking there in the water, and then what did he saw? He saw that many things are even going into the water. So now just imagine what had been the scene there with those 7 years and 6 years old kid, and those two were alone even. I half swam, half crawled into the children's cabin. "Are you all right?" I asked. "Yes," they answered from an upper bunk. "But my head hurts a bit," said Sue, pointing to a big bump above her eyes. I had no time to worry about the bump heads. So now here the author tries to find out whether his children are good or not. So now they reply in yes from their bunk. So what is that? That is the upper part of a bed. So now here, but even though his daughter was injured, and then she said yes, but later she told that she had a bump in her head. But the narrator himself, admits that he didn't bother about that bump at that point of movement, because he was quite worried for the situation in which they were stuck, the situation of that stormy waves and all that. So later, after finding a hammer, screws and canvas, I struggled back on deck with the starboard side bashed open. We were taking water with each wave that broke over us. If I couldn't make some repairs, we would surely sink. So now what was there in his mind? That the water is more in the ship, so he had to do something, otherwise it would not be a good sign for them. Somehow I managed to stretch canvas and secure waterproof hatch covers across the gaping holes. Some water continued to stream below, but most of it was now being deflected over the side. More problems arose when our hand pumps started to block up with the debris floating around the cabins, and the electric pump short-circuited. The water level rose threateningly. Back on deck, I found that our two spare hand pumps had been wrenched overboard along with the forestay sail. the jib, the dignities and the main anchor. So now here what is the scene? He is trying to to fill in the gaps, to fill in the holes with some material, and he was even successful in that, because some water was not allowed to enter in the boat now. And then but still the water what was already in that even was moving towards one side. But now what happened, now he thought that he is to do something more on that. But later he found that his pumps got out of order. One that was which was a hand pump, which was manual, that was blocked with the debris of the things, I mean that broken over parts of the things. So and the another one, which was with a power connection, that was short circuited due to that kind of storm. So now, and then he thought that he would get the extra ones, but later he got to know that those extra ones even flew in the water when he himself was dropped in the water. So that even the scene with that, so the jib even fell in the water. So now look on to their situation. Then I remembered we had another electric pump under the chart room floor. I connected it to an outpipe and was thankful to find that it worked. The night dragged on with an endless, bitterly cold routine of pumping, steering and working the radio. We were getting no replies to our mayday calls, which was not surprising in this remote corner of the world. So now here he says that what happened later, what did they do? They tried to get the water out from their ship the whole night, and that too what else they were trying to work on their radio. But since the storm was there and the place where they were, that even was quite separated, so then even that is why they were not able to get their signals. Mayday calls means they were not getting the signals in touch. So now but that was a general thing to be done in that kind of environment. So next, Sue's head had swollen alarmingly. She had two enormous black eyes, and now she showed us a deep cut on her arm. When I asked why she hadn't made more of her injuries before this, she replied, I didn't want to worry you when you were trying to save us all. Imagine the strength of that such a small child, although she was deeply hurted, critically hurted, but then even she didn't disclose it to her father because she wanted to help her father and she didn't want to hurt him for her injury. She thought that it's a small injury and she would give us support by not disclosing it to him. Courageous. By morning on January 3, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. But we still had a tremendous leak somewhere below the waterline, and on checking, I found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames were smashed down to the kneel. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few cupboard partitions. Only a very thin layer of the boat is left, but the rest of the part even is damaged. And now here, but they worked up smartly. They got some time to take rest for 2 hours, but they did it smartly. What they did, one was taking the charge to handle the ship, and the other ones were taking rest, and the next one was taking charge that ways, right? We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit, but Wave Walker wouldn't hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. I checked our charts and calculated that there were two small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. One of them, Al Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. But unless the wind and seas abated, so we could hoist sail, our chances would be slim indeed. The great wave had put our auxiliary engine out of action. So now they survived for 15 hours. Just imagine, after such a daring storm, even they could do that. So now what they are thinking, that they as they were heading towards Australia, but they feel that they would not be able to reach Australia. So now what they have planned to move to the island which they would be finding on the way, right? And that name of the island is Amsterdam. So here they feel that the wind should not blow so much, because otherwise that should stop, otherwise they would not be able to sail again to the place in such a weather, and their chances would be quite lesser to do their journey. So here I disperse my class for today. Rest we will continue tomorrow. Thank you.